Well, yeah,
Good news today.
yeah, yeah. Okay, well, hello everyone. Welcome to Rock M Radio. I'm Quentin Corpuel. Joining me today is the one, the only Parker Gillam. Parker, I am very glad to see your face because the only reason I would see your face at this hour is if Nwaneri was a Missouri Tiger, and he is. This seemed to be an imminent thing for I think a few weeks now, but I didn't want to personally guarantee anything. I woke up this morning, I looked in the mirror, and I was going to shave my beard. And then I thought to myself, you know what? Let's wait one more day because there's not superstitious, a little stitious, superstitious. I'm right here. And I'm glad I made the decision that I did.
I will say thank you for doing that.
Of course. So yeah, Parker, Williams Nwaneri is a Missouri Tiger. Talk to me. Tell me about him.
First and foremost, as a player, there's not a lot to dislike about him. I had a piece come out a couple weeks ago about what him and Wingo both committing would mean, and just how important it would be for just recruiting the state of Missouri, especially. But in terms of what you're getting on the field, he is the next great D-line zoo prospect, is what you're really looking at. He's really progressed well throughout high school. There's not to where the point there's not a ton of weaknesses in his game. He's got great burst for his size. He's played both inside and outside, so he's got some versatility there to when he comes to school. He's been productive throughout his time in high school. So I see him as a day one starter, depending on what the situation looks like that he's walking into, what the D-line room kind of seems to be. But yeah, I think he is, obviously the type of prospect that everybody was waiting on. You saw Oklahoma was very convinced for a period of time that they had him. I think Georgia really thought they had him for a bit. But him sticking here, keeping that border kind of shut on the state of Missouri was definitely huge, off the field and on the field.
It's very difficult to poke holes in his game. There isn't really a whole lot he can't do. And this is obviously not us promoting him to be the next Aaron Donald or the next Hall of Fame defensive tackle. But when you watch the tape, it's a little mind-blowing. Whenever he moves forward, I felt pretty confident that he was going to win the rep. And all that he usually needed to do was like make one chop or one spin or just do one thing and boom, he'd be in the backfield. How much of that can continue at the next level, I'm not sure. But what he has physically, not a lot of other defensive tackles have. And you mentioned it also, he can play on the outside too. You can use him kind of everywhere on the defensive line, which versatility is really the name of the game nowadays in a lot of team sports. The more you can do on the field, on the court, the better. And WN certainly has that.
Yeah, we just saw Darius Robinson sliding defensive end after being a tackle for a couple of years. It's stuff like that that's invaluable. NFL scouts are going to look at Robinson doing that and be like, this is the type of guy that can play different positions for us, depending on him bulking up or cutting. But yeah, you mentioned some of his film. I think the first thing that when I watched it that stood out to me about his film was his first step is high level. He is pretty much winning his first step every single time over offensive linemen. You mentioned it's really just taking one move. That's because he's already got them on their back feet by the time he's even having to put a pass or rush move on or anything. So again, there will be a learning curve coming to the next level, especially in the SEC offensive lineman. It's going to be difficult for him to adjust maybe with the speed that some of these tackles are going to have. But I don't think that's going to be a glaring issue for him. I still think that natural ability is going to shine through. I think, great hands, you talked a lot about. I think it's that combination of speed and, the arsenal of moves that he's kind of developed throughout the past couple of years. That's really seen him blossom kind of into the player he is today. So really excited. Again, I think day one starter, you hope. The hope also is with how the depth chart may project is that he has some older guys that are around towards the time, maybe some of the guys that are younger right now that are going to take a step up this year, has some guys to guide him in the college game, because the only thing you don't want is to throw a 5-star like this out there with a bunch of other younger guys. They're just trying to figure it all out and they go through a bunch of bumps. Having an older guy there helps. It won't be Robinson because he'll be gone after this year, but hopefully someone else kind of steps up, maybe Johnny Walker or someone like that, and kind of takes him under his wing when he gets on campus.
Yeah, I think there's inevitably going to be just a little bit of a learning curve. But at the same time, I love the fact that there will likely be a lot of veteran leadership in that defensive line room, and also the fact that I mean, I feel like he's good enough to where he can make an impact the second he steps on the field. Do you want to talk about what this means for MIzzou, just the program period? Because Josh is asking if this is the biggest recruiting win in program history. Like, I don't know, arguably, but I personally don't really care about where it ranks. I just care about the impact it has right now and moving forward. So with a commitment like this, Parker, what kind of impact does this have on a program like this?
I think we'll always, in terms of the biggest recruiting win, I think, at least for me personally, I'm always going to consider Luther's commitment to be the biggest, just because that kind of started this, that put MIzzou recruiting on the map under Drinkwitz, at least in my eyes. And that's kind of started this belief that MIzzou can start to land these caliber recruits. So I'll put Burton slightly above it. Still a crazy big win. Just, I mean, the teams that they beat out, but just, I mean, the player he is. And I wrote about it a little bit. I believe it was last week that was published, but just what this means for the recruiting brand that Missouri now has. You know, you had Burton commit, but that was one big name commitment. The Bamas, Georgias, LSU's, Ohio States of the world are doing that every single season, getting multiple guys like that. It can't just be one blip on the radar for you. Landing this commitment right here, this shows that Mizzou is here to stay. That, you know, these top power programs, Bama, you know, Ohio State, especially in the Midwest, that used to just be able to walk into the state of Missouri, pluck any 4 or 5 star they wanted out of St. Louis, Kansas City, you know, rural areas. No longer. I think there is a strong brand that's developing. I think the in-state kids are respecting Missouri football. I am younger, but more so than, at least I would say, for the past, you know, 10 years, at least since Pinkel was there. I think the brand has just the strongest it's been in quite a while. I think they're seeing that. I think we'll see, you know, I'll be the first person to throw out Ryan Wingo's name. We'll see how he ends up, maybe if his commitment changes after what happened today. But regardless, to be able to land the top prospect from your home state when he had plenty of other suitors, it sends a message to the rest of the country that Missouri is here on this national level. And I would personally consider them to be at least in the Midwest, a power in the recruiting world now. You know, right up there with some of the others like Oklahoma and Ohio State. But the key is now consistently doing this year in and year out. Can Drinkwitz keep doing this? You know, so far it seems like he has, but we'll have to see with these next couple classes.
So this is the first time since, I believe, 08 and 09 with Sheldon Richardson and Blaine Gabbert, where Mizzou has landed a 5-star recruit in 2 out of 3 consecutive recruiting classes. Obviously, Luther Burton being the one in 2021. I think on a more national level, I think this is good for college football, that more of these 4 or 5, especially the 5-star players, aren't just going to one of 4 schools. I personally enjoy when more schools, more teams feel like they have a shot at these high-level recruits, even just in general, a shot at a national championship. That's why I've been expanding. That's why I've been pining for an expanded playoff. But that's a whole another conversation that I don't really want to get to at the moment. I want to focus on Williams. But I just think it's better when recruits aren't just going to Bama, Georgia, and Ohio State. I think that's better for the sport. I think that's better for parity. And I think the naysayers will be like, well, Mizzou just, they bought him. Like, he's going there for NIL. Well, yeah.
Every other program had plenty of NIL too. So, like,
I get it. Like, I understand it. A lot of these guys want to go somewhere where they feel they want to go where they think opportunity will be maximized. And Mizzou has established themselves as one of those programs, obviously, like you said, maybe not on the level of the top teams in college football, but it's definitely a place where you can get your brand out there, whether it be from an NIL point of view or even just trying out auditioning for professional football kind of point of view. And so I totally understand if that is in fact the case. And I think people who are putting that down, I disagree with them.
Yeah, and I think it comes to the point now. The next step is developing. You've seen a lot of coaches that can recruit at a high level but aren't developing these guys. I think the first one that will come to my mind, having grown up in a Tennessee household, was Butch Jones. He recruited like nobody else, got 4 and 5 stars, but he never could put it together on the field. I think a big thing we're going to see is in Luther Burden's second season. Does he end up taking that step forward that you expect? And that would be a positive sign for this next crop of highly touted recruits coming in. But yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I think it creates more parity in the sport. It creates more potential, just dominant forces to compete with some of those other big teams. I mean, I've seen a lot of people jokingly saying Mizzou 2026 national champions, on Twitter and stuff like that since Nwaneri ended up committing, which we're not going to throw anything like that out there yet, but it's a great sign. So I do agree. And I think the NIL point, I think, Missouri's playing the same game that everybody else is. I mean, I don't think there was I would highly doubt there was anything financial that really pulled him to Mizzou over these other schools outside of it just being an extra benefit.
Yeah, and there was another argument where it's like, well, he's going there because he probably thinks that he's going to get playing time. Yeah, like look at Lamar Jackson, for example. Was Louisville the best team that recruited him? No, they weren't. He got offers from Oregon and Ohio State and Florida State and Clemson and teams that at the time were in a lot better shape than Louisville. But a big reason why he ended up going to Louisville was because he knew that he would start on day one and that he could make the biggest name for himself there and not at a bigger program. And I don't want to make that sound like a shot at Mizzou, but at the same time, like, again, you're looking for opportunity.
Yeah. And I think it's also a lot of these high school kids are looking, another big thing is, what program is going to do the best at putting me to the next level in the NFL. For a long period of time, obviously, Ohio State, Bama, Georgia, they were just churning out NFL draft picks, top 3 rounds. So obviously, why are most kids not going there? Even if you have to wait till junior, senior year to play, you're going to end up getting that NFL contract. Mizzou's now proven, and our defensive line is a little bit different. Mizzou's had defensive line prospects, for the past 10 plus years that have been getting drafted kind of like that. But especially last year, you saw McGuire get drafted, DJ Coleman landed with the Jaguars. You saw 2 recent prospects under Jacobs' tenure that just landed the NFL. I think that has to play a factor as well. And just, I would imagine just the pedigree of the defensive line at Mizzou as well. I think that reputation does precede them. I think that's why they've landed a lot of defensive line recruits that they have in the past. It's just because for whatever it may be, I mean, a lot of credits to go to coaches, players, athletic department, et cetera, whatever it may be, Columbia, Missouri breeds elite defensive linemen. Nwaneri is going to be the next. I would be, you'd be hard pressed to find someone that says he won't kind of follow suit in that trend. So I'll throw it back at you then. Actually, I'm interested to see early outlook. Kind of, how do you think he fits in as a Tiger? What do you think his career could end up being? Maybe give the ceiling.
Well, I like to think of myself as a reasonable man. So I'm not going to set expectations too high. I feel like whenever I set expectations too high for anything, I'm usually disappointed. So I'm not going to look to the sky on this one. That isn't me. Like, I acknowledge that that's a possibility, but I don't want that to necessarily become the expectation, even though it probably will be somewhere close to that in reality. I'm just so excited because you could use him anywhere. Like, if the coaching staff finds that, what if you use him at, like, I don't know, why don't we screw around and put him on the edge? See what happens. Why don't we put him into the 3 technique? Like, see what happens with his hand in the ground instead of being a stand-up pass rusher. Like, that's all a possibility. There's not one position where I'm like, okay, he has to play this, or I think he is going to be the best in this position. It's not even going to be close. It's just so exciting, Like, at least for me, I personally haven't been around Mizzou a whole lot since I got to the school last year. Like, I grew up in Maryland and I was raised a Miami Hurricanes fan because that's where my parents met. So not only did I not support Mizzou, I wasn't paying attention to Mizzou athletics growing up. I wasn't even in the area where people were talking about it. Like, I feel like I know a little bit about Maryland athletics, like Georgetown basketball, just from hearing people talking about it around me. And so I quickly came to understand when I got to Mizzou that this kind of stuff is not normal. And when it comes around, it's very exciting and I feel it. And it's easy to set very unreasonable expectations. You look at the past 5-star recruits and most of them made pretty good careers out of themselves, at the very least in Columbia. Some better than others in the NFL, but at the very least, were very, very good in college. I could totally see Nwaneri becoming like at the level of Sheldon Richardson in terms of where Mizzou fans think about him on like an all-time list, for example. I think he could definitely have that kind of an impact on the game. The possibilities are like the sky is truly the limit. I'm not sure if there is a limit, but I think there's a real chance for a real game changer on the defensive line.
Yeah, and I will go ahead and say, for as excited as we all are, for as excited as every Mizzou fan is, for as excited as Elijah Drinkwitz is, nobody is happier currently than Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator for the MIzzou Tigers, because he just got the greatest early Christmas gift you could ever get. Because I know, he's the type of guy that he's said it himself before, and you've seen it kind of with Hopper and some other guys these past couple of years. When he gets a talent like that, he lets them play to their strengths, puts them in any position that they need. He'll draw up packages for Nwaneri to where he can just be put in the best position to pass rush, run stuff, etc. I think we'll see a lot of design stuff that really puts him in good spots, at least early on in his career as he's kind of adjusting. But I know that, Blake Baker is going to be, he is probably celebrating the hardest right now. He just got, we were at practice earlier today, and he got a tip drill interception as well during the practice. So he's having a really good day overall, I would say. But he's got to be the happiest out of anybody.
My personal favorite schemes, both in football and like I follow basketball too, are ones that don't log jam players into certain systems. And if they don't fit, oops, too bad. Oh, well. I like the ones that are melded around the personnel they are given. That's why I'm excited about Mizzou's offense, because Kirby Moore, he said in his introductory press conference, I want to tailor my offense to the players that I have. And Blake Baker, I think, has shown he can do the same on defense. And we're getting all excited about all of these places that WN can play on the defensive line. I think you're totally right in that he will be put in the spot where he is going to have the highest probability of succeeding. So that gets me super, super excited. I'm trying to think what else there is to break down. Anything else I was thinking about?
Someone did mention, there's one saying confidence level of commits sticking through signing day, which that's a question you have to throw out there.
Fun. That's a really fun comment. Can you just let us enjoy? Please. Please,
at this point, if I'm throwing numbers at a wall, I'll say out of 10, I'm fairly a 7, 8, 9. I'm fairly confident he's going to stick through with it. And the other thing someone did bring up, and I touched on a little bit, was how this might affect Wingo's recruitment, and also just the entire class of 2024, because I mentioned in that piece. But I think that every class of 2024 prospect, Nwaneri commits today, but if Wingo also commits, no matter who they're committed to or who they're looking at, they're taking a second look at Missouri immediately, because they've now pulled in 2 of the top players at their respective positions in this upcoming class. I think in terms of the whole class, this is going to do a lot. And you've seen a lot of already current members of the class that have been recruiting really hard as well. And this is only going to help with that. So I think it will help the Wingo recruitment. I do still think he's going to make his own pick. I don't think this is the type of thing that's going to really push him over the edge. But I would also imagine that, 4 and 5 star recruits, they want to join other 4 and 5 star recruits at the schools they're going to. They never want to be just the only one, because then they're just not surrounded by the appropriate talent level for them. So I think it makes Wingo more likely to commit, but I will not say anything past that, because I still think that is a tough race.
Good for you, man. Good self-control. I'm proud of you. I think that's just human nature to see a lot of people in one place that you respect and somewhere where you think you will be happy. And Mizzou certainly has a lot more of that now that they have according to a couple of sites, the number 1 player in the class of 2024. So I just think that it can't not help. That's the most that'll say. I think that it can't not help with the recruitment of a guy like Wingo. So that all?
My nerves and my heart finally kind of like stopped these past 5 minutes. I actually,
What'd
but
you
it reminded me of the Burden commitment. I mean, really watching that live, I was just as kind of invested in that. I guess I don't know. Just
who gets
so
it?
the
Okay,
names they were choosing against.
so
No,
this person asked who gets their name mispronounced more next year. Nwaneri. I think it's Nwaneri because phonetically saying N and W back to back is difficult. I remember trying to pronounce David Nwaba. Nwaba is a little easier because the way his name is spelled is it's just a little easier to say. Nwaneri's got two N's in the span of NWA, and yeah, he's got two N's in the span of four letters, which is hard with a W sandwiched in between there. That's definitely going to be a tongue twister. I've already goofed it a few times, so I think probably that one.
yeah, I feel like more often than not, the people that mispronounce or misspell Drinkwitz's name, sometimes they just do it on purpose. To be honest, I don't think it's always
like me personally. I think Drinkwitz is not that hard.
I remember at first I kept thinking Elijah, not Elijah, and I had to get over that pretty quickly.
Well, there's a difference between mispronouncing something and then misremembering someone's entire name. What'd you think of the hat?
Oh yeah, what was well, remind me what it was again. I know it wasn't the Circle Tiger. It was.
They bought it in the. I've seen it in the MU bookstore. It was a white hat with the gold MU, and then I think there was a Tigers underneath it. Me personally, like, I I thought it's really funny when guys do commitments. They like put a lot of time and effort into it. Did you see the UCLA commit who spoofed the LeBron commercial?
Yes, that was amazing.
I thought that was really well done. Not that should be the expectation, but I like when guys go the extra mile to reveal where they're going to college.
And there's a good middle ground. You know, I feel like you can't do too much and put on just a whole production because then it does come off a little full of yourself. But I do think funny stuff like that, and you're also in doing that trying to get your name out there and get people to know you, and he certainly accomplished that. So
yeah,
you can't blame him. But yeah, I think there's a middle ground you got to work with there.
Yeah, it's like announcing an NFL draft pick. Like when someone goes up on stage, all people want to know is who's getting picked. And like this is obviously excluding. You obviously want to thank the people that helped get you there. I will never mind that. That will always be okay with me. But
I think another thing I wanted to throw out there.
What's up?
Topic of conversation. What potential NIL deals for when, and I forgot for when he is on campus during his time here. I'm trying to think he could get like. Definitely, he's got to get a food sponsorship of some kind. For
so
sure.
You already have frozen pizza, Emo's pizza. There's wood-fired pizza. I'm trying to think of pizza, like types of pizza that haven't been hit yet. You have wood-fired pizza. We're not in Chicago. I'm not going to count deep dish pizza.
Yeah, you go thin crust, but that's not. I feel like that wouldn't really make sense for a defensive lineman.
Yeah,
you need a meat lover's pizza for that, but they've already got that handled.
What other kind of like people don't really universally like white? I'm thinking about like white pizzas. That's a very niche pizza.
Why are you so locked in on pizza? Why do you only want it to be pizza?
Well, okay. What else? What else are you thinking?
I'm thinking burgers. I think that could be a perfect.
Do you think Booches would allow an NIL deal?
I don't know if they've done one before, but that would be highly successful if they did. So I think that'd be a fabulous idea.
Their burgers are also very good, so I would be okay with that.
That'd be a great partnership. No, I think that'd be really good. Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I bet he'll do a lot with Kansas City, at least some area. I bet as well. Just knowing some people from that area and kind of just his reputation there and stuff. I think I could see that also. But yeah, interested to see the stuff that just comes out from NIL because you see every year you see something new. Even on this campus, we've seen something new every year from these guys. I mean, Luka Burden himself has something new pretty much every half year, which is just hilarious to see all the time. And it's good for him. It's awesome. I think and if you really look into it, there's a lot of great stories that have been coming out. Darius Robinson hosted his event, I believe it was 2 days ago. It was the back to school backpack drive, and that was really awesome to see too. So hopefully, some good things like that down the pipe.
That made me very happy. Darius is a very nice guy, and that was very wholesome. And there's not a whole lot to not like about that. Now I usually try to block out the haters, especially during live streams like this, especially the comments. Our buddy Josh Peteshka, Booch is mid as hell, by the way. Now here's my thing with food and drink opinions. I think they're kind of silly because everybody's palate is a little bit different. So what somebody might like, someone might not like, and that's okay. It's completely dependent on person. However, in this case, I think Booch is if you're are we talking about food? Josh, could you respond to the comments? Are we talking about solely food or are we talking about the entire experience as a whole? Because if it's the entire experience as a whole, I feel like it might be one of those situations, at least from like bad reviews of places that are generally considered pretty good. It's just like one bad experience that kind of taints your opinion of one place. Because I've been to Booch's a handful of times and I've enjoyed myself each and every time. I have had there are burgers that are better, but Booch's I think is still very good.
Yeah, it's probably the same type of group of people that believe Shakespeare is the best pizza in Colombia. It's that whole just nostalgia crowd. I don't know, but Shakespeare definitely isn't. But I would say Booch's is best burger in Colombia. Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I think that would be a good analog. And also, I think with what we've seen in the past, I think a car dealership, that's probably the other more common one. Nwaneri doesn't have like a pun in his name. You see, like with the Coldest Crawford signing with an a heating and air conditioning company.
Can't really make anything out of Nwaneri. I'm wondering, do you think he's going to have the same level of attention from NIL and also just the community when he arrives on campus as Burden did, or do you think it's going to be more or less different? Because you're talking St. Louis versus a KC crowd, maybe in that sense, but I do at the end of the day just think that Burden, A, because his commitment happened first and was the first kind of breakthrough commitment in a while. B, just kind of who he is as a person, and just kind of how bubbly personality he is. That's kind of why it led to that.
I'm curious to see with Williams because I think with Burden, I think the argument that Burden's was bigger is because just MIzzou hadn't gotten an awesome recruit in such a long time, and he was the first one. And he was also a skill position player from in-state. Like he had all the makings of it's technically not a hometown hero, but he had all the makings of somebody that like people here could really get behind, like a truly like awesome superstar player. And I think with Nwaneri, just because Burden did last year, I think that will naturally lessen the hype this year. But I still think it'll be pretty big because this is something that people have been getting very excited about for a very long time.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, there's no judgments that will make any sense until both of them are finished fully with their careers at MIzzou, and we'll have to judge kind of after that because Burden still got plenty to go, and Nwaneri still has. Probably not 4 years, probably 3 years, but we'll see. Maybe it's 4 years, but he's not a guy I can see leaving early as well, just with kind of his raw skill set.
Well, Parker, I think we have spoken all there has been to speak about Williams Nwaneri, the newest member, at least. I'm sorry.
So we're not going to rant about Booches anymore, man. I was really looking forward to another half hour.
Well, I'll stand up for it. I'll defend it. I think it is.
We'll have to talk. We'll talk to Josh after.
We'll have a discussion. We need to set some things straight. But Parker, I appreciate you joining me. This has been another live, a special edition of Rock M Radio. MIzzou fans, today was a
celebrate.
Huge W. All right. Thank you, Parker, for joining me. You all have a wonderful rest of your Monday.